Hi, welcome to our second lesson on how to draw a comparison model. So today we are going to teach you how to draw this comparison model, which is very easy. So again, we need to have the elements. We need to show out the elements of the essentials of model drawing. So when you draw a model, you need to have those elements inside your model. Then your model will become very clear to understand. So what is a comparison model? So it is a model that has two rectangles, at least two rectangles that you draw side by side, all right, to compare. So comparison model refers to comparing. So you draw a few rectangles and you compare them accordingly. So for example, if you look at this question, John has 675 stamps, Ali has 255 stamps. So there are two persons, and how many stamps do they have all together? And how many more stamps does John have than Ali? So there are two persons here. So do I draw a partial model or do I draw a comparison model? So that's a good question that some students they will ask. You draw a comparison model when you see more than. When there's a more than, less than, then we should draw a comparison model. So your rectangle will be something like this, right? Your rectangle, you have John, again, you must label, and there's an Ali, right? So labels are important because they tell you who does the rectangle belongs to. So John has a longer rectangle, and that is a larger value because the number is bigger, right? So that's why you have a longer rectangle for John, and for Ali has a shorter rectangle because his value is smaller. So you have 255. So what do you put in the rectangles? Values. You do not put labels. Labels are always outside the rectangle, but you put values into the boxes or into the rectangles. And how many stamps do they have all together? So there is an arrow sign, and that tells you the sum of these two persons, or the total of these two persons. And that is the first question mark. All right. And how many more does John have than Ali? So when you see the how many more, that's when you draw this model, right? The second building block in your model drawing, comparison model. So you draw the arrow sign over here, and that tells you how many more John has than Ali. So your second question mark is here, and your model is done. So this is how a comparison model looks like. And again, all hard questions, they also start with comparison model. They will either start with a partial model or a comparison model. So if you look at the model, you can see clearly how to do it. The model will guide you, right, to get the answers. So how do you find the total? You add the two person together, so that'll be 675 plus 255, and that gives you the two person, right? The two person add together. And what do you get? So let me just do a quick one. 675 plus 255, and you get the total. So 5 plus 5 is 10, and 30 carry 1, and that'll be 930. So together, they have 930 stands all together. So that's your part A. All right. So when you see the arrow sign at the side, right, at the side, it refers to all together, the total. So now can we do part B? How many more stands does John have than Ali? So when you see how many more, you have to compare the two rectangles. The longer rectangle, right, John's rectangle is longer by how many? So you have to take 675 and you compare with Ali's rectangle to find how many more, right? How many more? So that's called comparison model. Compare. Compare is usually to find how many more or how many less. So you have to minus. Okay, minus. So you take 675 and you minus 255. And that will give you how many more stamps. So you subtract, and that will give you 420 more stamps. So John has 420 more stamps than Ali. And that's how you get your part A and part B. And the model is quite easy to draw. It's not very hard, quite easy. But once again, you need to understand how to draw the basic building blocks. What are the basic building blocks of model drawing? Your partial model and your comparison model. But you also need to have the essentials, the important elements in your model drawing. Because if you don't have labels, if you don't have the arrow sign, if your arrow sign is not drawn accurately, right, it's not clear, you find that you get confused. And you also have to put the values into the boxes, right? And you need to put a question mark onto your model so that you know what to find. So once you have all these essentials, all these elements in your model drawing, then your model will be able to guide you on how to get the steps and then get the answer. So that's what we need to know, right, for these few lessons, right? You need to understand what are the essentials of model drawing and what are the basic building blocks that you have to learn how to draw before you can draw a good model. All right, so in the next coming lesson, I will show you how to build onto these two models to draw something bigger, to draw something that's more, to draw something to solve those harder questions. So these two lessons are going to be quite basic, all right, quite basic. But in the next coming few lessons, you will start to go into other kinds of drawing, right? That will make the solving also much easier. So I will see you in lesson number 3, right? See you.